Thank you, everyone, for having me here today. I'm Shannon Manfredi, and I have the honor of being the coordinator for the Animas River Community Forum. The Animas River Community Forum came together after the Gold King mine spill, and it was a conscious and deliberate effort on the part of various community sectors, government agencies within the watershed to work together to help shape our community response to the incident. The forum's purpose is to promote communication, coordination, collaborative action, foster public confidence, support resiliency in our communities, and enhance planning and improve public safety and health for the future. Partners of the forum are various, as I said, sectors of the community, including a lot of different local, state, federal government agencies, emergency responders, agriculture users, business and economic development folks, elected officials, conservation organizations. I probably don't have them all listed here. The goal of my presentation here today is on behalf of all of these partners. I'm here to present some of our lessons learned and what we can do in advance of having an incident. In our case, it was a mine spill incident, and we don't wish that upon ourselves or any of you in your watersheds. But we do think it's applicable to a flood or some other type of natural disaster, wildfires, or any time the community health and well-being and their natural environment that they're dependent upon are impacted. The first thing and our most important message, I'm going to try to drive all my points back to this, is that to build your community network and to establish those relationships in your community. And it's not just about reaching out and knowing your counterpart in the county next door to you, but really broadening that to include a diversity of sectors and collaborating with folks that, you might be focused on water improvement, but you never know who else is going to have a resource or bring a solution to the table. And it could be the housing development director, it could be a transportation department. Don't overlook your local long-time residents in your community as well. Because really your best response during an incident is going to be your local resources. And with that being said, don't underestimate, even though it's the local folks in your community and getting to know them, despite them being in your community and maybe having a similar concern, don't underestimate how difficult it is to communicate with one another during, especially an incident in a time of crisis. And I think that probably most of you have experienced, a time like this probably in your community and how difficult it can be to communicate with one another. And so we have a few points that we think we have learned with regard to communication. Well, number one, don't blame, because sometimes our memories last really long when something like this happens, and it's very difficult to build a cohesive group when you start to play the blame and shame game. So the Animas River Community Forum, when it formed, the partners, everyone was confused a little bit and in crisis as it happened. You're not really sure where to go, what happened. But you need to resist the tendency to say to somebody that they're not doing it right or not responding accordingly. And if need be, especially if you haven't already developed those relationships, it might be worth getting a professional facilitator or moderator in these times to hold that space and be respectful to one another as well. Another thing is that, especially for people who are agency representatives or elected officials, There's panic sometimes, and even if you are in one of those leadership positions and you might be feeling panic, you need to not show that as best as you can. You need to keep calm and also, that's there, to be visible. And by that I mean for those agency representatives, elected officials, public figureheads, it's sometimes very basic stuff, because when you do have a crisis or something of that sort happen in your community, people might be displaced, they might not have access to their resources or services that they're used to, and so being visible is important to the public and to your staff to know that you are engaged. And it can be as simple as listening, go out, be visible, listen to them. When you don't have the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know. But you need to follow up and respond to them. But don't just tell them something or speak in circles, things of that sort, and see if you can help get them what they need at that moment. I wanted to take a few seconds here to talk about federal and state support. It certainly is important, and it has a role. It's not always the most effective resource during an incident and immediately following that response to an incident. And it's because, as I'm showing you, governments, by their very nature, are big. They're very bureaucratic. They have a lot of checks and balances, a lot of approvals and procedures. They have to send things up the lines. And basically, they just can't, they're coming from a distance. They're not even in your local area half of the time. So they are not going to be as effective during the incident itself and immediately thereafter. I think really their job is to support the local emergency responders as well. Let's see here. And another point on this is with regard to communication. I think the public has a pretty good BS detector, and because of that, needing to get approvals and have these statements approved and whatnot, sometimes your state and federal government agency representatives, they seem very zip-lipped, right? And they seem very shut down. And so this is, those are some of the challenges. I think the federal and state government is very effective as we move beyond the incident and the initial response, more to the recovery phase. And they do have good resources as well. But so who can respond quickly? Well, of course, it's going to be your local resources again. And so I just wanted to note that I've been listening to the presentations this morning, and so many of you are already doing this, and that's great. I've heard you say, we have partnership in our names. You've been coordinating on mine cleanup, not just to improve the water quality, but to improve a recreation site or a historic structure, for negotiating the background levels, and all sorts of examples we're giving here this morning. But it's the people that know the area, and I don't want to underestimate those who have had a long history in the area as well, because they can provide context. Somebody was, the last presentation listed off past spills on the Animas, so it's good to know who you can go to and quickly. It's not going to have to go up several levels of a federal government level to get information, but you can probably just pick up the phone and call someone who's been a farmer in the valley for 4 generations now, and you're going to be able to at least get some context. And you might not be able to make that their statement, the farmer's statement, in your public statement, but it's going to give you a filter and some context for the values that you need to be speaking to when you do give your communications out to the community. And another piece here, actually watching some of your slides today, some of you might be able to answer the first picture there, but the public does not need a scientific explanation, they just need a litmus test, and they need you to be authentic, and by that what I meant is it's listening, and it's saying when you don't know, it's following up, being responsive to that. So I think I've hit my points on And most importantly, I think I missed a very important point on the slide before this, is that your local conservation organizations and other community sectors can react more quickly. And an example was during the spill, MSI was able to get right out there before the water actually reached Durango and start taking baseline data before the spill reached into that stretch of the river. So various reasons, and again, I see all of you sort of doing this, and I also have noticed sometimes, especially during an incident, we sometimes forget some of these basic things to do. And another piece for when gathering information versus information sharing, on the information sharing point, when you're in the incident and immediately responding to it, there are emergency responders, of course, in all of our communities. And I think most communities, and if you're not doing it, go and do this, but be evaluating risk assessment in your area. What are those potential threats? But the information sharing and getting public messages out to the community during the incident immediately thereafter, follow the lead and honor the response plan of your emergency responders. However, go to the information gathering is being as informed as you possibly can, and that is talking to your network. And so the point is, get to know the people in your community, and you don't even know how, but it's sort of fun to find out, because I think we have probably had experiences where I didn't expect them to have this, right? So you never know who's going to have that data or a solution or have information that's going to be valuable and inform your public response throughout the whole recovery process. And communication, again, one size does not fit all. And point on that one there is, we've got, your public is very diverse and they access their information in different ways, and they're going to have mixed reactions to the incident as well. So you need to have multiple sources saying the same thing, and some of the benefits that I think you know, but are when you're working together, you can at least make sure that you're all trying to say the same thing to the public, and that's really important. It also, when you have a broad network like the forum has, they have their email list and their constituents that they can get the message out to them that way. And it's a way to leverage and stretch your resources. And then the validation and credibility is really important, because it's been helpful to the forum to have not only the government agencies and their data results, but also the conservation organizations. And it's about credibility, because sometimes when people are telling you something, and I really don't mean to pick on the government agencies, but sometimes you question, like, are they just telling me that? I mean, can I really believe this? And so you need to, it will help the government agencies when you are partnering even with your local resources, of course. And credibility might not always be the elected officials. So you've got to know, who are those credible sources? Who are the ones in your community that people, I can trust what he says. And it may very well be a rancher, a farmer, a longtime business owner, a school teacher. You never know. So know your trusted sources and engage them as well. One other inconvenient reality is the financial burden. And to this, we say get assurances early on, because you are, as a local community, going to have to go out there and expend time and energy and money to fix the situation. So get it in writing if you can as well, and be persistent. And it's going to take political will to get through and get reimbursement. But some of the benefits have been that when you are coordinating together, you can, what has your experience been, what has yours been, and work together on that, and to have some solidarity. And so pretty much, we know that it's about working together to maximize your resources and getting everyone to benefit. So together, everyone achieves more. And I am running out of time here, so I do want to take a minute. I have a lot of forum partners in the room, and it's really great to see you all here today. I just want to acknowledge we have the forum, as I said, is a diverse group of various community sectors, and it includes Mountain Studies Institute and Marcy and her staff. It includes Peter Butler and Steve Farron with the Animas Stakeholders Group, Kirsten Brown with the Division of Reclamation, Mining and Safety, Lisa Johnson and Elijah Waters with the BLM, Caitlin Randolph with San Juan Economic Development Alliance, Ben Martinez, Forest Service, Tammy with the Bureau of Reclamation, Carl Humm and Jeremy with the Vista and Office of Surface Mining Reclamation, Willie Tukey with San Juan County, Rebecca Thomas with the EPA. It is a lot of government agencies and organized groups, but together we've been able to hold the space, and the forum has really, it's pretty much as simple as holding bi-monthly meetings when you can, coordinate and exchange information, find common issues and challenges and work together on them. So take the time to invest in those relationships and maintain them, because they are always needed, even when you don't have an incident. Questions?
What were you thinking about financial?
I believe that I was hearing from some of our partners that the EPA did come and sitting down with like county commissioners and telling them your story about what what the costs are, and verbally, they're saying we're going to reimburse you, and that was really the assurance. And then I think some of the parties got it in writing, and I'm not sure if anybody of the partners in the room can speak more specifically to that, but it did come as a lesson learned to me from some of our partners, and so it must have been in writing for someone. And I know that I've heard a lot of the folks have been reimbursed and some have not been completely reimbursed.
I have a question about the media. I mean, we all watch the media go crazy during the spill, but like it or not, they are communicating all the time to people that you're trying to also. Do you have any thoughts about being able to effectively use the media, or what are your thoughts on the media?
The question is, how can you effectively work with the media, because they're always talking about this, and certainly we kept seeing that Orange River picture on and on again. I do welcome any forum partners to jump in on this one as well. We actually had the Durango Herald come to some of the forum meetings as well. That's helpful, but the forum wasn't existing prior to the incident, and I think as much as you can put in writing, for me at least, it's sometimes better to put in writing than just to talk to me, and to give that to them to help them with the accuracy of the information. And our point has been more to make sure that we are coordinating information amongst the partners so that we're saying the same thing, ideally, before it gets out there, that piece of information you are feeding to the media. Correct them when it's, when they have misstated something, do try to get correction done as well.
Comment. San Juan County Commissioner Scott during the
I'll just make a little comment on dealing with the media. What we found during the crisis, it was better to have one spokesman that the media could go to instead of the media going to lots of different people and getting lots of different opinions. It was much better just to have one spokesman that was very well educated on the subject and have them deal with the media. It kept things much cleaner.
That's a great point. Sorry, I took all the time.